Welcome. My name is Brian Beatty, and I'm a professor in the Graduate College of Education in the Department of Equity, Leadership Studies, and Instructional Technologies. And I teach graduate level courses and professional development courses through the Instructional Design and Technology program. And what I'm going to do briefly today is to explain to you why I use custom GPTs in my work as a professor, both with students in my teaching role, but also as a faculty member in my course design role, essentially, or my basically faculty practice role. They're useful not just for teaching, they're also useful in much of the rest of my work to help make my work better in various ways. And so, why custom GPTs? Well, when ChatGPT broke on the scene for us over the last couple of years, especially within the last year or so, I started to see the power that was available for my students and for me to support our work in learning and also in facilitating learning and teaching. And I decided also to explore more about prompting, and so I could help my students learn how to get more out of the tool. And I quickly learned that prompting can be very complex, and doing it well makes a big difference. And so I also heard about these custom GPTs people were able to build, and so I explored that. And within a short period of time, I was able to figure out how to build a custom GPT or a set of them that help my students in their work. And so I'm going to show you one of those and also then talk about how I've been building them for my own work. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to work within the San Francisco State OpenAI GPT environment, you may know it as. And we're doing this because this is where the GPTs that we build for our students pretty much have to live if we're going to have our students using them within the protected data space within the San Francisco State environment as part of the CSU agreement with OpenAI. And this is really important because if we're going to be having them putting information up here, talking to them during their learning process, it's important for them to know that this is a protected data space. The information that they share in their interactions and maybe the file they may download for some feedback or upload for some feedback is not shared within the large learning model that OpenAI has built and continues to build with the data from the public side of the interface. And so this is what we're doing. Now, to find custom GPTs, you can find them without building them yourself. And so if you click on the GPTs link in the OpenAI interface, you can find the GPTs that were built at San Francisco State in our workspace up here. And then there are also some other ones that have been provided for us that are being shared from the larger world. The ones that I have built all have my name associated with them. And I have a set of 6 or 7 of them I built for students. Here's a brief look at what they look like in their names. But I created things to help them with study planning, with kind of like like a digital tutor, a peer review when they're doing papers and they want some feedback based on the rubric assignment, a quiz tool that we're going to look at in more detail, how to choose a mode when they have a hybrid course or a high flex course and they're deciding between online or face-to-face or synchronous or asynchronous, a couple of breakout tools, and another general tutoring tool. Actually, the study planner helps them plan a schedule for their studying throughout a semester based on the class schedules and the assignments in a particular set of syllabi they might have. But we're going to focus on QuizMe for this one. And so if I want to find QuizMe, I can just search for it in this site, and I can just click on it, and it will give me a little overview of it, and then I can start the chat with it. So QuizMe tool is designed to give them a self-assessment tool. Now, I actually created this because I wanted readings quizzes again. I had them a long time ago when I started out in a whole different LMS. And when I came back to teaching in 2020 and into a new LMS, I didn't rebuild all those readings quizzes, and I started teaching new courses. And so that was going to be a lot of work to reestablish that. I didn't want to put that all that work into. And now with the ChatGPT tool, I can build an interface that allows students to have a customized quiz at multiple levels, and even ones that could be a traditional multiple choice true-false quiz, short answer quiz, or it could be based on scenario, so kind of a scenario-based assessment, all within a GPT that I built, that I programmed, so students don't have to have a very long prompt in order to get this kind of interaction. And I can assign this to students to do before a class and have them get a summary paragraph from the tool and then upload it into a document perhaps, or email it to me, or just post it to someplace. Or I can just leave it there for them to use as a self-assessment tool and to help them self-prepare it. And I find actually this is how they use it more often than in something I might require them to do. And so the Quiz Me tool then starts out, but it gives them a few things to choose from. And I can tell it what to ask them, like even something as simple as, what does this tool do? I find that's a very useful little prompt to provide in these custom GPTs, because then they're able to kind of get a brief explanation of what it might do. And so what I will do then, typically my students would know that if they want a quiz on a particular topic, they would upload the reading or some set of information based on it that would be helpful. And I'm going to use just this document. This is Comparing Learning Theories. It's from one of the classes that I teach. It's kind of a summary idea. And so I just upload that file. If a student doesn't know how to do that, they can get help from the GPT, just asking the GPT, how do I upload a file? And we'll tell them how to upload a file. And then it asks me what kind of quiz I want, what format I want, and whether I want it easy, moderate, or challenging. And I'm just going to say I want easy, and I want a mixed quiz. I want to have a scenario question or two, as well as the traditional questions. The GPT is programmed to essentially go to about a 5-question quiz, but it will go longer if the student wants it longer. And if the student needs to cut it off more quickly, they can do that as well. If the student tries to pull it off topic, it's programmed to draw them back on topic. So they're not going to spend, 10, 20, 30 minutes, talking about whatever is interesting to them. That's not part of the quiz topic, at least not within the GPT. And so it asks me questions. I give it answers. I don't know. I'm just going to answer these kind of randomly for now. And it's going to give me feedback. It's going to give me constructive feedback. If I'm wrong, it's going to give me some explanation. It might ask me, or if if I want more information about it. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just ready to move on. So let's just go to the next one. So I'm going to have another quiz question, etc. And I can go through this and go through randomly, not randomly, but I can say, hey, actually, I want a scenario. Let's do a scenario. And let's just go for a scenario. And so I can tell it, I can speak to it in other languages as well. I can type in other languages. It's really a useful tool, especially if you have students where learning in the language other than English might be helpful for them as far as the learning process goes. And so here's a scenario. So it gives me a situation, it gives me some choices, and it asks me to give it my response and my rationale why. And so then it will go through this with students. So you can create a tool like this, or use an existing tool that you have access to within the San Francisco State site with your students as a way of supporting their learning process, especially for self-assessment. Now, I can also use custom GPTs for my own work as a professor. And one of the things I do is I look for situations where I'm doing something on a repetitive basis, especially something that's not very complex. For example, building announcements for each of my classes and to post into the learning management system every week, no matter whether students are working with me in class, in a traditional class in person, or an online class asynchronously, or an online synchronous class, or one that they have flexibility, or maybe that it's in a hybrid mode. It works for everything. Actually, these other GPTs we just talked about for student interaction work in all kinds of courses, because most of our students are learning quite a bit outside of class, outside of the live environment. So to give them something to interact with around the content, maybe even stimulating the interactions with other people, can be very powerful in their learning. And I think we are just scratching the surface of what we're going to be able to do with these tools as we continue to develop our skills and kind of follow along with where the industry is going with us, and actually hopefully the educational side of that, and not just being pulled along by the commercial side of it. So what do? Well, I do have also built GPTs to help me with my design process and to help those designing the kinds of courses I do. But I want to show you a different one today. And this one is called Announcement Builder. And I chose this one because I found that I wanted to build more creative announcements, and I wanted to do it in all of my classes. And of course, when you have a great idea on how to change this in one class, it's like, okay, I want to do this in all my classes, and I want to do it now. I want to do it currently rather than rolling it out over time. And so that obviously increases there's a lot of work involved in that. And so I thought, well, what if I built a tool that would allow me to upload kind of a one-page session overview for a particular class, meaning in a particular week, and have it create an announcement I could just cut and paste easily into the announcement in the learning management system. And so that's what I do. And so what I do is I create a class, just an overview document. Here's an example of one from a class I use. I'm just going to upload it. And what it's going to do is going to create an announcement for me that follows the pattern I've set up for it. I want a kind of a paragraph-based, text-based announcement. I want it to be kind of encouraging. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to be doing in the live session. Here's what you're going to do afterwards. And so I do this for all the classes then. And I find that it gives me a very consistent look and feel to these and experience for the students as well. And so you can have a GPT like this, and if you build one yourself, you can obviously put your own tone in it, but you can also tell it if you're using a tool someone else built. I would like this to be more, I don't know, humorous or more formal. Or more maybe from a historical figures perspective, or maybe from a character that would be representative of what you're talking about in the class, a biologist or something like that. Anyway, these are things that the generative AI tools are really good at. So there's some expectations here, but this system really works well for me. I always end them with this like reflective question. And of course, I could write all these myself. As a matter of fact, I never use anything from ChatGPT towards my students without me obviously looking at it, validating the data that's in there, but also revising it. I wanted to look and feel and be really more from me than from the tool, although that tool gives me a great draft then to revise from. And so those are some of the most important things that I've learned using this tool and custom GPTs. And you can find custom GPTs lots of different places. And if you want to learn how to figure out how to build them themselves, there's a lot of good learning resources for that. And I think it's going to be something that continues to energize our teaching and hopefully motivate our students to learn how to use these tools more effectively for their own learning, rather than replacing their learning, rather than replacing their thinking process, rather than replacing their writing. They'll use that to kind of supercharge it so that they're really learning to work together with this very powerful tool. Just like we, as producers, as faculty who are building things to share with students, including interaction plans and assessment plans, et cetera, can be even better when we're using these tools to their capability. I hope this is helpful for you. And if you have specific questions for me, you can always find me at the Graduate College of Education, or typically online, of course, through email. But I look forward to hearing more about your journey as well.